The question has echoed through the corridors of history for decades, and it haunts the minds of investigators and citizens alike. Can a single bullet truly inflict 7 distinct wounds on 2 grown men and remain largely intact? This puzzle is not merely a matter of ballistics or physics, but a defining moment that shattered the innocence of a nation. For years, the official narrative has been debated and dissected by experts and amateurs who stare at grainy footage and static photographs. They search for a hidden gunman or a second shooter who might have vanished into the shadows of a grassy slope. But what if the answer was never in the photos, but in the geometry of the scene itself? On a bright and clear autumn afternoon in November 1963, the city of Dallas, Texas, became the stage for a tragedy that would alter the course of the 20th century. President John Fitzgerald Kennedy sat in the rear of a dark blue Lincoln Continental convertible, waving to the enthusiastic crowds lining the streets. Beside him sat the First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy, wearing her iconic pink suit and matching pillbox hat. In the jump seats directly in front of them sat Texas Governor John Connally and his wife Nellie. The motorcade moved slowly through the heart of the city, turning onto Elm Street and entering the open space of Dealey Plaza. The mood was celebratory, and the air was filled with cheers. The geography of Dealey Plaza is deceptive, with its sloping lawns and curving streets that create a natural amphitheater. As the presidential limousine made its way down the slight decline toward the triple underpass, the sound of gunfire erupted over the noise of the crowd. Panic ensued as pigeons scattered from the eaves of the buildings and spectators threw themselves onto the grass for safety. In mere seconds, the president slumped forward, and the governor cried out in pain. The car accelerated, rapidly speeding away toward Parkland Memorial Hospital, leaving behind a scene of absolute chaos and confusion. The world had changed in the blink of an eye. Immediate investigations focused on the Texas School Book Depository, a 7-story brick building looming over the plaza. Witnesses pointed toward a corner window on the 6th floor, where a rifle barrel had been seen protruding moments before the shots rang out. Police rushed the building and discovered a sniper nest constructed from boxes of books. They found 3 spent shell casings and a bolt-action rifle hidden nearby. The primary suspect was identified as Lee Harvey Oswald, an employee at the depository who had left the building shortly after the shooting. The narrative seemed straightforward, yet the physics of the event would soon spark a firestorm of controversy. The Warren Commission was established to investigate the assassination and concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, firing 3 shots from the window. 1 shot missed entirely, 1 shot struck both President Kennedy and Governor Connally, and the final shot was the fatal blow to the head. This conclusion relied heavily on the single bullet theory, which critics mocked as the magic bullet theory. Skeptics argued that for 1 bullet to cause so much damage, it would have had to zigzag in midair. The 2-dimensional diagrams and flat maps available to investigators in the 60s failed to capture the complex 3-dimensional reality of the plaza. Decades passed and technology evolved, allowing forensic scientists to revisit cold cases with tools that were unimaginable in the 20th century. The introduction of high-definition laser scanning and 3-dimensional modeling promised to shed new light on the events of that day. A team of forensic experts and ballistic specialists decided to return to Dealey Plaza, not with tape measures and sketchpads, but with state-of-the-art LiDAR scanners. Their goal was to create a millimeter-accurate digital replica of the entire crime scene. This would allow them to test the official theory against the laws of physics in a virtual environment. LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging, a remote sensing method that uses light in the form of a pulsed laser to measure ranges. By sending out millions of laser pulses per second and measuring how long they take to bounce back the scanner creates a dense cloud of data points. These points form a precise three-dimensional shape of the environment. The team set up their tripods at multiple locations throughout Dealey Plaza, capturing every curb and every tree and every window frame. They scanned the road surface and the grassy knoll and the surrounding buildings to ensure no detail was overlooked. The process of scanning the Texas School Book Depository required special permission and meticulous care. The team positioned their equipment inside the sixth-floor museum, exactly where the sniper nest had been located. They captured the interior dimensions and the window ledge height and the angle of view down to Elm Street. This data was crucial because even a fraction of an inch in the shooter's position could drastically alter the trajectory of a bullet over that distance. They needed to know exactly what the shooter could see, and more importantly, what was obstructed from his view. Once the physical scanning was complete, the team returned to the lab to process the massive amount of data. They stitched together billions of data points to create a seamless three-dimensional model of Dealey Plaza. This digital twin was a frozen moment in time, allowing investigators to move virtually through the space. They could view the scene from any angle and measure distances with perfect accuracy and simulate the lighting conditions of that specific afternoon. The model was a colorless, geometric ghost town waiting to be populated with the actors of the tragedy. To reconstruct the shooting, the investigators needed to place the presidential limousine into the virtual model. They used the original schematics of the 1961 Lincoln Continental to build a digital replica. This car was not a standard vehicle, as it had been customized for the Secret Service with specific seating arrangements. The jump seats where Governor Connally sat were positioned lower and further inboard than the rear bench seat where the president sat. This specific spatial relationship between the two men was a detail often overlooked in two-dimensional diagrams, but it was vital for the three-dimensional analysis. The next challenge was to synchronize the digital model with the most famous piece of evidence in history, which is the Zapruder film. Abraham Zapruder had filmed the motorcade from a concrete pedestal on the north side of Elm Street. His home movie captured the entire shooting sequence in color. The forensic team used a technique called photogrammetry to align the Zapruder film with their three-dimensional model. By matching fixed points in the background of the film like signs and lamp posts with the laser-scanned data, they could determine the exact position of the limousine frame by frame. With the car positioned and the camera angles locked, the team inserted digital mannequins representing John Fitzgerald Kennedy and John Connally. These avatars were scaled to the exact height and build of the real men. The team used autopsy reports and medical records to mark the entry and exit wounds on the virtual bodies. Now they could draw a straight line from the sniper's nest window through the wounds to see if the trajectories aligned. This was the moment of truth where geometry would either confirm the official story or shatter it completely. The analysis began with the first shot, which is widely believed to have missed the limousine. The laser trajectory showed that the branches of a large oak tree would have partially obstructed the shooter's view at that specific moment. The bullet likely deflected off a branch and struck the pavement or curb far ahead of the car. This finding was consistent with witness reports of sparks flying off the concrete near the underpass. The three-dimensional model proved that the tree was a significant obstacle that explained why the first shot failed to hit its target. The investigation then turned to the controversial second shot, the so-called magic bullet. According to the Warren Commission, this single bullet entered the president's back and exited his throat, and then struck Governor Connally. In two-dimensional drawings, the path looks impossible because the men appear to be sitting directly behind one another. However, the three-dimensional model revealed the true seating arrangement. Governor Connolly was seated lower and to the left of the president. When the laser line was drawn from the sixth-floor window, it passed in a straight line through the president's neck and directly into the governor's back. The virtual reconstruction showed that no magic was required for the single bullet theory to work. The bullet traveled in a straight line through the soft tissue of the president and tumbled as it exited his throat. It then entered the governor's back sideways, which explained the larger entry wound. It shattered his rib and exited his chest before striking his wrist and finally lodging in his thigh. The alignment was perfect. The three-dimensional scanner had revealed that the confusion of the past was caused by a lack of depth perception in the original diagrams. To be absolutely certain, the team also tested the possibility of a second shooter on the grassy knoll. Conspiracy theories have long suggested that a gunman was hidden behind the wooden picket fence on the slope to the right of the motorcade. The forensic team drew a trajectory line from the fence to the president's head at the moment of the fatal third shot. The analysis showed that a shot from that angle would have exited the left side of the president's skull. However, the autopsy photos and medical evidence clearly showed the exit wound was on the right side. Furthermore, the three-dimensional model highlighted that a shooter on the grassy knoll would have been highly visible to the people standing on the overpass and lining the street. The line of sight was clear and exposed. The laser scanning data, combined with the wound ballistics, strongly contradicted the presence of a shooter in that location. The geometry simply did not fit the physical evidence left on the body. The science was pointing inexorably back to the sixth-floor window of the book depository. The team also analyzed the difficulty of the shots taken by Lee Harvey Oswald. Using the virtual model, they simulated the view through the 4-power scope mounted on the rifle. The target was moving away from the shooter at a slow speed and a slight downward angle. While the shots required skill, they were not impossible for a trained marksman. The distance was less than 90 yards, which is considered close range for a rifle of that caliber. The three-dimensional reconstruction allowed ballistics experts to experience the shooter's perspective, verifying the feasibility of the feat. One of the most chilling aspects of the reconstruction was the timing analysis. The Zapruder film runs at 18.3 frames per second, providing a precise clock for the event. By correlating the frame numbers with the position of the car in the three-dimensional model, the team could calculate the exact time between shots. The spacing allowed sufficient time for Oswald to operate the bolt-action mechanism of his rifle. The rhythm of the shots matched the mechanical capabilities of the weapon found at the scene. The digital preservation of Dealey Plaza serves a purpose beyond just solving the crime. It captures a historical site that is constantly changing. Trees grow and die and signs are replaced, and roads are repaved. The laser scan data ensures that future generations will have access to the site exactly as it was during the investigation. This digital heritage allows for peer review and further study as technology continues to advance. It transforms a physical location into a permanent scientific record that can be analyzed forever. Critics of the official story often point to the movement of the president's head after the fatal shot as proof of a frontal impact. He appears to jerk backward and to the left. The forensic team used the three-dimensional model to analyze the neuromuscular reaction and the jet effect of the exploding matter. While the visual recoil is counterintuitive, physics dictates that the expulsion of brain matter forward can propel the head backward. The three-dimensional analysis supported this explanation, aligning the biological reaction with the ballistic trajectory. The project also highlighted the importance of acoustic evidence. While the laser scanners focused on visuals, other experts analyzed the audio recordings from a police motorcycle dictable. Early studies suggested a fourth shot, but modern digital analysis of the waveforms indicated that the sounds were likely static or cross-talk from another channel. The integration of audio data with the visual model helped to filter out the noise and focus on the corroborated physical events. The reconstruction of the crime scene using three-dimensional scanners provided a level of clarity that was impossible in 1963. It stripped away the emotion and the speculation, leaving only the cold, hard facts of geometry and physics. The alignment of the wounds and the position of the car and the trajectory from the window formed a cohesive narrative. The pieces of the puzzle locked together with a precision that is difficult to dismiss. The science spoke louder than the theories. This technology has application far beyond historical assassinations. Today, three-dimensional laser scanning is a standard tool for major crime units and accident reconstruction teams. It allows juries to visit a crime scene virtually and see the evidence from the perspective of the victim or the perpetrator. It removes the ambiguity of verbal descriptions and hand-drawn sketches. The work done on the Kennedy assassination served as a proving ground for these methods, demonstrating their power to resolve complex spatial questions. The legacy of the assassination is still heavy with grief and suspicion. For many people, no amount of scientific evidence will ever fully explain why such a charismatic leader was taken so violently. The emotional weight of the tragedy often overrides the logical conclusions of the investigation. However, the three-dimensional reconstruction offers a neutral ground where facts can be tested. It provides a baseline of reality in a sea of conjecture. As we look back at the events in Dealey Plaza, we are reminded of the fragility of life and the impact of a single moment. The three-dimensional model stands as a testament to the pursuit of truth through science. It does not diminish the tragedy, but it honors the victims by seeking an accurate accounting of their final moments. It is a tool for justice that transcends time, allowing us to bear witness to history with new eyes. The reconstruction also serves as a cautionary tale about the reliability of eyewitness testimony. In the chaos of the shooting, witnesses reported seeing smoke on the knoll or hearing shots from the bridge. The human brain tries to make sense of trauma, often filling in gaps with incorrect information. The laser scanner does not panic, and it does not imagine. It records the world as it is, providing an objective anchor in the storm of human perception. In the end, the three-dimensional scanners did not find a second gunman or a vast conspiracy. Instead, they validated the findings of the initial investigation, but with a much higher degree of certainty. They showed that the improbable path of the single bullet was actually a straight line. They demonstrated that the physics of the event were consistent with a lone shooter in the book depository. The mystery was not in the evidence, but in our interpretation of it. The work of reconstructing complex crime scenes continues to evolve. Future technologies may allow for even more detailed simulations, including real-time environmental factors like wind and temperature. But the core principle remains the same, which is using science to uncover the truth. The Kennedy assassination reconstruction proved that even the most tangled historical webs can be unraveled with the right tools and a commitment to facts. We may never know the full contents of Lee Harvey Oswald's mind or the complete scope of his motivations. The why of the crime may remain forever elusive, buried with the men who pulled the trigger. But the how is no longer a matter of guesswork. Thanks to the precision of three-dimensional scanning, we can trace the path of the bullets with confidence. The geometry of Dealey Plaza has finally spoken, and its message is one of clarity amidst the chaos.